Here we have our third video for Chapter 7, and this is how to correct errors. So you will make errors as an accountant. Everyone does. There's no getting out of it. It's going to happen. So what you need to understand are some of the rules for how to deal with these errors. So the first one we've already seen before, and that's an error in the journal that is not yet posted to the ledger. So you're going along just making entries into the journal, and then you discover that in the journal you've made a mistake and you haven't moved it to the ledger yet. So we've dealt with this one before. You simply draw a line through it, and then you put the correct entry above it, and then if this is a paper pencil or if there's some memo for that, you initial it, and that's going to show that you're the one that did this change to the general journal. So it's very suspect when things are penciled out and scratched out and erased and things are written in. No one in business or government likes that, and that doesn't meet the generally accepted accounting practices, or GAAP. All right? So if you want to be compliant with GAAP, you have to make sure to initial it and to do what I just suggested. So draw a line through it so you can still read it, but you know that's not the correct thing. Above it, write in the correct line or number, and then initial it. All right. Our next error here, an error in posting to the ledger when the journal entry is correct. So you've made the correct journal entry, and now you're going to post it to the ledger, but when you put it in the ledger, you did the wrong number, or the wrong line, or the wrong entry, something like that. Okay? So the journal entry is correct, but the ledger entry is off. Now this one's very similar here. You simply draw a line through the entry in the ledger and initial it. Okay? So if ever you make a mistake in the journal and you catch it there, draw a line, correct it, initial. If you make a mistake in the ledger, draw a line, correct, and initial, because it's correct in the journal, and if it's just a mistake right there in the ledger, you can fix it in the ledger. So those are two of the most common mistakes you're going to find. The third one is a little more complicated. All right? What happens if there's an error in the journal, but it's not discovered till after you put it in the ledger? So you've made a mistake in the journal, you've put the mistake into the ledger, and now you got a mistake in both places, and it's already gone through the system. What you have to do in that case is you have to undo it by creating its opposite. So if you put 1,000 in the wrong place in the journal, you have to make another journal entry that's 1,000 in the opposite place, so that it cancels out that one that you entered. So if you make an entry, you've got to do its opposite. So you put it in, accounts receivable when it should be in accounts payable. You actually have to do the opposite, and you have to debit, accounts payable. You have to do the opposite of what a normal accounts payable would be. Almost always it's a credit. So you have to do its opposite. Okay? And you do that in the journal, and then you post this oppositional entry into the ledger to correct it. So you create its opposite journal entry, and then you put in the correct journal entry. So you've done something wrong. Now you have to reverse it and then put the correct one in. Okay? And you put that into the journal, and then you post both of these to the ledger. So if you've gone the wrong way, you have to fix it and bring it back the right way, and then you have to take it the way it's supposed to go, and that's two journal entries. See, one to undo what you did wrong, and one to then make the correct journal entry, and then both are posted to the ledger. So you don't just scratch out the extra 1,000 you put somewhere. You actually take away that 1,000 to correct it if it's in the wrong spot. Okay? But that only happens if you made a mistake in the journal and then you also post it to the ledger. The others, if you just catch it quickly, you can just fix it there. But in this case, you have to do a more involved approach. And then you've noticed on the ledger, we've got that part, it says date, and then it says description, but we don't ever put anything there. That's what it's for. And then you write in the words correcting entry. Okay? So it's almost like its own little memo line. That's what that description is for. It's like having its own little memorandum. Like, this is a correcting entry. This didn't actually happen. I'm just doing some opposite entry to fix the mistake I made. And that's where you put it in that description. Okay? So when we get to class, we're going to practice these things, especially this one right here. Since we're on the ledger, this is most likely to happen in this chapter, and it's also the most involved. So we're going to do a few of the problems on that, and we'll practice it. And I'll see you in class.